Hi guys, I am in Podmoskovaya, Patriot Park, Shooting Center Gallery, yes, Kalashnikov. Welcome to TKO. I am with the company's specialist Arseny. I ask you to continue to call him that. A series of such new products were presented, and there are so many new products that I can't even embrace them all immeasurably. And that's why Arseny is here to competently tell you about these new products. And immediately, attention to the question. So, we have all the new products that you presented earlier. The main customer of these new products and the recipient of these new products was precisely the Ministry of Defense. That is, you presented VKPO 3.0. VKPO 3.0 went to the Ministry of Defense, presented KBS Strelok. KBS Strelok came to the Ministry of Defense. The question is the following. These new products that you have just presented in a whole series, will they go to the Ministry of Defense? Is there any interest in them from the Ministry of Defense? And so on and so forth. Well, I think the question is clear.
Indeed, we have presented a wide range of new products in our new catalog. These products are developed on our own initiative. They are intended for the domestic and foreign markets. The customer showed interest and initiated work on testing new products. That is why he chose a number of directly these elements in the composition of the new line, which at that time we had not yet presented to the general user, to general consumption, and organized the testing. We manufactured a pilot batch, a series of products for several climatic zones. What does initiative for development mean? Many people think that enterprises that work in the military-industrial complex, many of them are state-owned. That's it, but many of these companies are private. So, accordingly, a company without initiative from the customer conducts its own research work at its own expense in order to subsequently recoup them for the subsequent development of the company, the sale of these products in its existence. So, accordingly, these are initiative works. These are the works that the company sponsored at its own expense. You came up with it, you did it, presented it to a potential customer in the person of the Ministry of Defense. Yes, to one of the customers in the person of the Ministry of Defense, so that later, if there is interest, the customer directly there begins work together with him, and the product, already commercial, can subsequently undergo a number of changes. Here, and, there, among other things, it can subsequently go to the customer. The
next question. Several times, when you described, you said the word kit. Kit. What kind of kit? First of all, what kind of kit?
Yeah, why do I call it a kit? Because indeed, as you correctly noted, it includes not only items of clothing, but also additional items. So, additional gloves are included there. Equipment is included there. Bulletproof vests, backpacks, and armored helmets. Here. But since the customer was not interested in the entire commercial line, only a separate element, a set was formed, which we call a kit. This kit was called Novator.
And this is the working title?
This is the working title, which is also public.
Okay, I will ask a question right away, because more than one person has written to me after you posted this. I wanted to swear, but I won't. A magnificent catalog.
From which everyone had, well, there, in general, yes. The question is, did this catalog include only Novator, or did this catalog include the entire commercial line, from which Novator was then chosen? This catalog included the entire commercial line, from which Novator was chosen. That is, it was like a buffet, from which the customer said, I want this, I want this, I want this. And Novator is actually different. Since the work was also initiative on the Novator, not carried out jointly by the customers, we would like to tell them today.
Excellent. Why did I ask this question? Because I am simply saying, people have already looked at this catalog and having gotten used to the fact that earlier everything that was declared from a number of such, sooner or later the troops got, they are already waiting for the entire catalog in the troops. Well, it was necessary to say that the Ministry of Defense would choose the elements of interest. Yeah, all this was included in the Novator kit, and now we will actually tell you about this Novator kit. That's
right. My friend, do I understand correctly that this is the very same Novator kit before us? Yes, here are presented those elements that the customer chose from our commercial line and thus form the Novator kit. The kit is multi-component. It includes clothing. The clothing is the legal successor of VKPO 3.0 and 3.1, which we supplied in large quantities to the customer. So, there are differences here. There are several versions for different climatic zones. In particular, here we see you and I wearing an all-season suit. Here it is presented in colors for a moderate climate. Here are colors for a desert climate. Directly there for mountainous regions, well, in general, for hot conditions. So, the Novator kit includes, it turns out, a set of clothes, consisting of an all-season suit, a windproof and waterproof suit, insulated. The kit was expanded with gloves, presented for different climatic zones, additional elements for special cold conditions. Then, of course, underwear. There is also an additional version for special cold conditions. Next we have the Bivaka system, presented here by a sleeping bag for a moderate climate, a 3-season sleeping bag, then an additional insulating bag, designed for use together with a 3-season sleeping bag in especially cold climates, and a lightweight version of a multifunctional blanket sleeper bag, designed for use in hot climates. Then we have a version similar in design to what was presented in a moderate climate, but intended for a hot climate. The difference in color is a windproof suit. Next is a
membrane suit.
Membrane, yes. Next we have an insulated suit, which is also intended for a hot climate. It has less insulation, but the design is almost identical. Here, and there is a special insulated suit for Arctic conditions, for a particularly cold climate, which complements the elements listed earlier. In addition, the innovator includes elements intended for the crews of combat armored vehicles. Here, the set consists of a jumpsuit designed for the warm season, non-flammable, which additionally includes gloves and a balaclava in order to form a fire protective contour. Stop, sorry, interrupted. Everything is non-flammable. This is for the off-season conditions, roughly speaking, and winter conditions for use together with other existing clothing elements. That is, this is a non-flammable membrane suit. Here, accordingly, and additionally there is non-flammable underwear, which forms 2 insulating layers, closer to the body and the outer one. Between them there can be an element that is made, well, which do not have fire-resistant properties. Well, if this is what you understand, right? Yes. Next, we have, accordingly, a bulletproof vest. Here is a weight distribution system with neck protection. Groin protection is a further development of our modular unloading system. Here we took into account the experience of operating KS shooters. Here a number of elements have been modified. The plates are used by NPF Tech NS according to protection class BR4. Here the vest is a multifunctional module. There is a version for vehicle crews, in which there is no protection. It turns out we have a groin and no weight distribution system and belt, but there is neck protection. The main bulletproof vest without armor panels. Accordingly, further on, the kit includes a new armored helmet with protection class BR2. Here in the medium ear version. At the same time, the weight of the helmet is comparable to the current general purpose one, 1.350 grams. At the same time, its protection area is the same.
And this is BR2. Yes, that is.
And, accordingly, the kit includes a transport system, a multifunctional backpack based on a cargo frame with the ability to place non-standard loads, heavy weapons, a raid bag and an additional patrol bag between the cargo bag and the frame. All this is compatible with the body armor, and can be used together with it if necessary due to the fastening system, but we will tell you more about this a little later.
Okay, and a couple of clarifications. Do I understand correctly that he only supplements the suit for the super Arctic with an outer layer like this, well, like I have this one for a moderate climate? That is, he has this all-season green suit, just this one. That is, roughly speaking, for winter, for the cold season, for winter conditions. It also plays both camouflage and a warming suit.
Exactly. That is, roughly speaking, those elements that we use in the warm season. In the Arctic, this period is quite short, from the second half of May, the beginning there, mid-June to there, roughly speaking, mid-August. And the element is made in a color scheme for a moderate climate, and the elements that are already used when there is snow cover, accordingly, they are made in such a camouflage color scheme.
Here, excellent. That is, not only do they provide additional insulation, it is also actually a camouflage wheel. Everything is generally clear. Do I understand correctly that after the customer, the Ministry of Defense, selected certain elements, roughly speaking, yes, said how it should be finalized for the Ministry of Defense, you finalized it and, in the interests of the customer, shipped a certain number of kits for comprehensive testing in different climatic regions of the country? Yeah. Do I understand correctly that based on the results of these tests, some changes may still be made to the final version of the equipment, gear, ammunition, and so on, and so on, and so on?
Well, of course, this is quite a long process. Well, that is, first the customer during the tests. Here we receive the first feedback. Based on the results of the tests we make some adjustments. Then comes the process of preparing the documentation directly, and, perhaps, some additional regulatory procedures associated, again, with confirmation of those changes made or confirmation of the characteristics specified in the documentation. And ultimately the product may differ greatly from what we initially imagined, because we demonstrated the first version of this kit at the Army of the 24th year of the exhibition. Now the kit has undergone significant changes, which we will talk about in more detail with the other elements of VKPO 3.31.
In my opinion, the VKPO 3.0 and VKPO 3.1 kit turned out to be magnificent. Well, everyone will agree with me on this. This is the best of everything that was received by military personnel of combined arms, at least, units. I already, know a little about the special kit, which, probably, and special purpose units, which received there during the entire existence of, I don't know, the Imperial Army, the Soviet, Russian, during the entire time of the armed forces, yes, of our country. So many colors, so many, new elements, so much of all this, so much of all this, so much of all this. In your opinion, to what extent is all this really necessary? In short, to what extent is it justified? To what extent is it economically feasible, expedient, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on? Otherwise, it will definitely be, how much longer can the Kalashnikov concern saw off state money? Yes, such comments have been encountered very often lately.
In fact, the situation that is happening now, in general, it is typical of the conditions in which we find ourselves. There is a hackneyed phrase that war is the engine of progress. That's it. And, the changes that are happening during this period, they are associated with very intensive use, with the assessment of the threats that we face, with the emergence of some new technological solutions, including with the problems that we solve for mass provision, technological optimization of the elements themselves. All this encourages development. This can, in principle, be compared with what happened, again, a hackneyed comparison, but during the Great Patriotic War. That is, like the appearance of the, Army of the Soviet Union, which was in 41 and then was in 45, so in 4 years a titanic path was simply made. That is, like it was just a complete reorganization, technical re-equipment in the conditions of a difficult conflict. And here the same thing is happening. That is, we in this particular industry, since we bear responsibility for it, that is, we have something to offer the customer. Therefore, we offer technical solutions based on the results of testing, operation of kits that are now being mass-produced and improved so that they are the best. The
main complaint, I remember, which was made about VKPO 3.0, when it appeared, yes, it was the color of the multicam. Yeah. The color was torn there. The glasses will be sharpened. The glasses are on my channel. People there were talking such wild nonsense, yes, that this is not allowed, because, well, horror. The multicam arrived. No one had any complaints about the unit. Everyone clapped their hands, okay. And after that, accordingly, was in the hood one, which was in the EMR colors, in our orthodox staple Don Mister. It began to be very dark. Toshiba Bose Camouflage as well. Their camouflage is better. Give me 2, give me 3. I can say that today, yes, pay attention to me. I am in an all-season set. I always forget the name, here in a new, conditionally new color scheme, yes, here in a new one. In my opinion, this is certainly a step forward. Firstly, because this is our, let's say so, yes, our unique color scheme, which everyone wanted, or our unique one. This is your unique color scheme, and in everything, in my opinion, it surpasses the EMR color scheme in everything, the standard EMR color scheme. And I hope, in fact I hope that some elements will be accepted in the end, some will go. I, at least, hope that a step towards this really working, really thought out color scheme of ours will definitely be made. By the way, was this color scheme your initiative or not?
Yes, this color scheme was our initiative. I would like to say something about the multicam and the digits. The fact that at first there was a digit, then multicam again, then digits again, and now modernized digits again, which raises questions among people. Initially, we were engaged in such a detachment and specialized in equipping special forces units. Then, in 2022, we were given new tasks, and the experience that was, with equipping a special forces unit, it was extrapolated for the armed forces, and so the VKPO 3.0 in the multicam color scheme was born, which we saw in 2023. This experience was perceived as successful, fortunate, and it was then again distributed to a larger number of consumers, users, and we manufactured the VKPO 3.1 kit in the digit color scheme, taking into account the results of operating the 3.0. We took them into account directly, and finalized and made design changes. The 31 appeared in the digital color scheme, since it is the main standard one. Here, then we realized that the digital color scheme as a whole has potential for modernization. And why not consider the types of its changes, modernization by introducing lighter tones? They suggested, among other things, elements for other climatic zones, which have just been demonstrated, the same thing. Why not make a drawing on the same report template? Here are the pattern options for desert conditions, for the conditions of the Arctic.
I understand correctly that the same technological equipment is used to apply this drawing, which is used to produce the EMR. Just a different color scheme is used.
Right? That is, the same ones are used. The same shafts that the manufacturers have can be used. Just a different type of dye is used. Here, we will go over the Dawn in a little more detail. In principle, how it became what it is now from the one that was presented in the 24th year. Now it has turned from 4-color to 3-color. That is, in principle, the manufacturer has the same 4th shaft, on which the printed edge is applied, that is, one of the colors can be used, the third, to get a pattern that is presented on you or on me.
That is, you have provided for replication, wide replication due to the existing production capacities of other manufacturers. Well, that's right, yes. Well, that is, roughly speaking, if the Ministry of Defense is interested in this, yes, and starts to produce equipment in huge batches, roughly speaking, the enterprises that today are engaged in the production of clothing in the military-industrial complex, they will be able, accordingly, to produce it.
Theoretically, they do not need to make technical re-equipment in order to start producing this updated version of the Dawn.
Well, this is smart. In fact, a pretty smart solution, but I think it is clear from the composition of the kit. We have run through it. Let us consider its subtleties in comparison. In comparison, yes, with what was before, my friend. And we, in fact, move on. Well, how to say it? No, well, not to the main part, yes, but to one of the main questions, yes. Why? Why? That is, roughly speaking, what is it about Novator that elevates it to the top of the pedestal? And the main difference between Novator and the clothing set that is included in it is that we combined the summer suit, the demi-season suit into one. That is, we had a summer suit, which included a jacket, a combat shirt, combat trousers, and a winter suit. A demi-season set, which included combat trousers and a jacket with a hood.
In the
Novator set, if I understood correctly, you took this and combined it together. And that is, today we have trousers, a combat shirt with a non-flammable torso. That's right, a non-flammable torso. But its sleeves are also made of the same fabric, in fact, but there is a more similar one in composition, lighter. And, accordingly, the jacket is already without a hood.
Without a hood, yes. That is, you combine these elements in one suit. For what? Summer demi-season suits are very similar to each other. Here's the first thing. Well, that is, they are the main ones for different seasons. One for the warm season, the other for the cold season. The design of the trousers in VKPO 3.031 for summer trousers and demi-season trousers is identical. Absolutely the same. Based on the results of using VKPO 3.1 and 3.0, we noticed that the demi-season suit was quite popular, and it was used in a much wider range of climatic conditions, weather conditions than it was originally intended for. Demi-season suit. Pros: elastic fabric, low movement, provides very comfortable, good ergonomics.
Maximum ergonomics, comparable to a tracksuit. In fact, trousers, they are comparable to sports trousers. Here on the floor 100% any. They absolutely do not limit movement in any planes, in any vectors, in anything. In fact, sports trousers. That's it. Yes, someone can call the fabric dense. Yes, someone can call the fabric heavy. But in the end it is redeemed by the fact that we do not need to pull the trousers before quickly changing the position, or throw the leg somewhere, or overcome an obstacle. We do not need anything, nothing. They provide the most expanded ergonomics. And therefore I will tell you so, that I have told a lot of people who wore demi-season trousers and a combat shirt even in the warm hot season. That is, they put on demi-season trousers, mixed demi-season trousers, and in fact the jacket is used only for formation. And, accordingly, the jacket complemented this mix.
Well, in principle, you yourself voiced the arguments. It is worth adding that the demi-season suit was also popular because the fabric protects well from the wind. At the same time, it is quite resistant to small precipitation. It dries quickly. Here, yes, the fabric of the demi-season suit has a lower impact, less resistance directly to various types of calves, the effects of flame compared to the fabric of the summer suit. But at the same time, both of these suits, that the old generation VKPO, which were supplied before, that in these, they are not completely non-flammable. Therefore, we went this way. We took the article of fabric, which has proven itself well in the delivery set for Special Forces units. That is, it is similar to the all-weather material from Cry Precision.
Well, I did not say that it is almost identical, I would say. That is, the combat shirt began to use a material that is much more comfortable in warm weather. I have a huge number of clothing items, and conditionally all season. Let's call them that, original, including non-original, well, I mean a copy, replicas, and so on. I can say that this fabric is probably the best option for universal. That's how it is correctly. What is it called? All season set. Indeed, they are trousers. And someone can say that yes, Nike, Nick, well, 50-50, it is more comfortable in the heat. I can say that no, it is not more comfortable in the heat. More comfortable in the heat. That's exactly it. And here is this material, possessing the same ergonomic characteristics, but I mean almost comparable elasticity. With a demi-season suit, the fabric is lighter, it is thinner, it is not as dense, in short, yes. At the same time, I can assume that it is just as strong, because if I have Tropica, despite the fact that it is a very thin fabric, it has very high strength characteristics. In my opinion, the decision to combine these suits in one product is still so competent, yes, that we have lightened the shirt as much as possible, yes. At the same time, well, more precisely, we have lightened both the trousers, in fact, and the jacket. Shirts made of thinner, more, how to say, less dense, less heavy fabric. And at the same time, the functional properties of this suit have been specially preserved all summer, and last year too. And when it was plus 40 there and so on, I wore demi-season trousers from the VKPO 3.0 and VKPO 3.1 set, and I was satisfied. I will not notice any problems with any, well, what was caused precisely by high temperatures, the functionality and function of this fabric in high temperature conditions.
I wanted to add here directly on the design changes, that is, because I said that the product is the successor of VKPO 3.0, VKPO 31. So, here the design of the trousers was improved in that the trousers were made looser. At the same time, the main design, it was generally preserved. The knee pads of the trousers have been modernized with improvements. Previously, they were made of a material that had only shockproof properties. Now there is an anti-puncture insert in the central part on the damper. At the same time, there is perforation for greater comfort in hot weather. Here are the parts concerning the combat shirt. The combat shirt has not undergone any design changes. That is, it is practically the same as it was in VKPO 3.1. It remains like that. We have slightly improved the fit of the elbows. It has become more comfortable, that is, higher, so that they do not slide down directly during active use. The most non-trivial task was directly with the development of the jacket, since it is used in the warm season as a tunic, as an everyday jacket when working at headquarters. Taking into account the customer's requirements, this is the placement of additional insignia. Here, that is, this is one of the scenarios for wearing it, and in order to ensure its comfort in the warm season, the material that is used in the armpit area, it was made lighter, comparable directly to the combat fabric of a combat shirt. Oh, and the zipper was removed. The zipper was removed. The zipper is not used here. In conditions of the directly cold season, the material provides protection from the wind, from light precipitation, yes, directly. And it can be used. It's let's say, fit takes into account use together with a fleece jacket and underwear. Here's an adjustment drawstring at the bottom to protect directly from the wind. The collar, if necessary, can be raised like a stand and fastened. At the same time, you refuse the hood, right? Why? Because these functions directly protect from the wind, so they float onto other elements of clothing, such as a scarf, also known as a buff, and such as a hat. Here in connection with the use of personal body armor, as it were, the hood was not always used, that is, together with a helmet and so on. Therefore, we abandoned this element in order to have fewer layers in the neck area, to provide greater comfort, and the wind protection function directly performed by other elements in the kit.
Well, let's say this way. I can immediately say that this solution will be paired with someone. Someone will agree with it, but here, as it were, you can't please everyone. In general, now the meaning is clear, explained. In general, I 100% agree with the transition to such a universal all-season kit. It is
worth noting that due to the fact that it is made of fabrics that are synthetic, polyamide together with elastin, it provides better performance as part of a layer system, since many violated this non-layering, using a summer set directly with other elements due to the presence of cotton in it, which provides greater resistance to flame, sparks, etc. More hygroscopic, yes. And therefore, in combination with other elements, at a high degree of activity, it accumulates moisture. Here it interferes with thermoregulation, and in conditions, for example, of a hot climate with constantly high humidity, it is not optimal. That is why we kind of have an additional plus here. Yes, we understand the moments directly related to protection from exposure to flame. So, in general, we have a solution for all elements of the system in order to make them fire resistant. All elements are all due to the use of metapyramids. Well, that is, but as a rule, as practice shows, the cost of such one product will be from 2 to 4 times higher. Here, and clothing is a consumable one way or another. Here, and we understand how this can be done differently. That is, no matter how we look at various treatments and, that is, coatings. That is, it is important for us to ensure, if we are talking about fire resistance, then it should be achieved directly due to the properties of the fabric. This can be done, yes, but it will take time. That is, and since the kit is, in principle, a combination of those voiced advantages, pluses that I voiced, it allows us to say that it is better than what was before. This is an intermediate step on the way to the next stage. The
next element is a set of clothes. A set of clothes? Yes. A membrane set? Yes. Accordingly, we have a VKPO 3.0 membrane. We have a VKPO 3.1 membrane. And we have an innovator membrane. Accordingly, structurally, if we look structurally, yes, then they are generally, well, I would say, identical. I will go through the details, we will see. That is, like, we had the first VKPO 3.0 set. One of the complaints or suggestions from the user was to adjust the fit directly taking into account wearing over other elements of the system, to provide additional moisture protection for the zipper, which was generally taken into account directly in the VKP 3.1 kit. That is, here they added additional strips on the pockets, while making them through for full compatibility with the layers worn underneath. Here, they added additional reinforcement in the knee and elbow area. Yes, they made the pants wider. The hood was a foldable collar. The volume of the hood ensured use over a helmet and over just a headdress. At the same time, it was quite ergonomic and sat comfortably on itself. In version 3.2, based on the decisions that were implemented in 3.1, they went the next way, here in reducing the volume of this suit. That is, it is used. Well, this is meant, arsony means better restability. Better restability, yes. This was done through design solutions, through the material. Construction. The hood now has a non-rolling collar. It is sewn in right away, because it is often used directly to protect against precipitation. Here. Further, accordingly, the adjustable tabs on the sleeves have been removed in order to reduce the volume even here. At the same time, the membrane material that is used here is improved. That is, non-component membranes are used here. I wonder about membranes. Why them what? What do I mean when I say interestingly? Why? Because the membrane kit, no matter how you look at it, as part of a clothing item is, perhaps, one of the most high-tech kits, if we do not take non-flammable fabrics and so on. Therefore, it will be interesting, of course, to then receive some feedback on how functional it really is in terms of protection from, well, from strong, it is needed to protect from heavy rain. It holds up to light rain quite well. And here is this kit. Further, the next item of clothing is an insulated kit, friends. Accordingly, again we have VKPO 3.0, VKO 3.1, well, and 32, it is an innovator. So, what can I say? Right away, I just feel it, yes, I do 1, 2 and then just boom and such, you know, it just blew in quacks. Quacks, you know, PKU are like that. Because I will say right away that many people ask the question, why such a dense upper material was used in VKP 3.0? It is really dense, that is, it seems that it is clear from our point of view, yes, what is the three main requirements for the layer system, that all elements should be maximally packable, because they are carried with them in case. He does not take them off the hangers, puts them on, he wears them. Accordingly, the denser the fabric, the worse the packability. Well, you just said about it, and here it was really dense. Why was it so dense? Why did you eventually come to, well, this is how it should be right here, Allah.
And if you remember our original line, here's our L7 suit there. Old, it was made of lightweight fabrics, lightweight, compact, packable, yes. However, in the conditions of 2022, in the conditions of mass conscription of people who are unfamiliar with the layer system, the customer voiced one of the solutions. That is, so that the upper fabric, the upper material on the insulated suits was much denser. Here, in comparison with what we used earlier. Wearing as a set to provide additional protection from precipitation. That is why the material was made membrane. This decision was forced to play it safe, relay on strength characteristics. Such a dense fabric, its use, it led partly to the fact that the insulation behaves and works differently. That is, it is much there, in a more compressed state, not constantly straightened. The thermal insulation properties of this suit, they become lower. It would seem that we use a denser upper fabric. It would seem that it should be warmer. It turned out to be the opposite. Yes, it turned out to be the opposite. This is a general wish for the elements of the winter group to make them warmer underwear directly on the fleece jacket and on the insulated suit. That is why, as it were, in the next generation in VKPO 3.1 we did not change the upper fabric. We made the kit warmer.
In terms of increasing the amount of insulation.
Yes, increasing the amount of insulation, because in conditions when people are in trenches for a long time, constant dampness, the elements behave somewhat differently with long-term, prolonged use. In approaching 3.2, the amount of incoming feedback regarding the upper material itself, it became quite large, and so the customer was ready to use a lighter fabric on the top, while maintaining moisture-proof properties. So, here the kit has already been refined directly with the material. That is, the Vader 32, which was sent directly for testing, had a slightly denser upper fabric than the one used here, while being lighter than.
Here. The difference is, well, it's hard to convey on camera, but believe me, friends, it's very significant.
And this is due to the fact that in addition to directly reducing its weight and ensuring its salability, we worked on reducing the noise level of the material.
Yes, there were a lot of questions about this, yes, because the material hardens and starts to rustle. After all, they are ninjas, because they behave very quietly. It's like a rustling suit. That's why I've said it many times, but I understand that yes, you've also come to the rescue here, right?
Yes, including, yes. And here, as a whole, we see the following. That is, we've got a set that has taken the best properties from the Equix PKU. That is, it's quite compact. When folded, it's warm. That is, it's comparable in terms of the coefficient of effective thermal resistance. Here the amount of insulation is used as well. But the next generation of insulation is used, and therefore, roughly speaking, if we had it in the composition of all elements of the system up to -25, this is up to -30, then this is up to -35, that is, it became even warmer. Here, up
to -35 is meant with optimally selected internal layers. Exactly so, yes, including using the all-season suit that we are wearing. Here, that is, it turns out, it is packable, it takes up little space when folded. At the same time, the material provides protection from precipitation, from moisture, that is, a membrane is used directly here. That is, this is basically a similar solution to Corinthia, that is, a hybrid of Corinthia and Equix. From Corinthia protection from precipitation, wear resistance, from Equix directly packable properties. That is, you took the best that exists in the world, did it like this. But I will not say this word, right? And then it turned out, and the question, I immediately noticed this and, accordingly, on the desert kit, on the Arctic kit, that you added pockets in the front part of the belly, right? Because the kit one way or another, that is, due to our climate, the suit is insulated, it is still the main one for the cold season there. Neko is actually correct now, sorry, I'm interrupting, yes. What's the main difference? Now if we take the main one as the most famous multi-level clothing system, this is PKU and Quox. What's the difference between PKU? PKU jacket is not a jacket at all. This is what we put on when we stop to keep warm. It is not assumed at all that we do not walk. In Iquax, it is still more or less similar to a jacket. Yes, we can wear it in the cold season. In VKPO 3.0, VKPO 3.1, respectively, an insulated suit, it was designed so that it is a full-fledged suit. In fact, it is a peacoat. It is not a layer for the cold season. It is not clothing that is issued to the person carrying out in addition to that in which he walks PPD. It is actually a full-fledged, yes, winter jacket, yes. That is how much attention was paid to vapor permeability, reducing the accumulation of condensate. Therefore, based on the results of operation, the material of the pockets has changed directly there. That is, a membrane is also used here. A reinforcement material with a tape is used on the knees. And this material is also a membrane, and not corduroy directly with the presence of a polyurethane coating. That is, everything is aimed at ensuring correct operation as part of a layer system. Now we move on to this layer. Well, we move on to the inner layers, friends. So, in front of us, look, respectively, fleece jacket VKPO 3.0, fleece jacket VKPO 3.1. She became here, you see, in the main color scheme was made. Here it was already made in olive, well, in such, yes, in olive, protective color scheme. And, accordingly, we have an element, I will remind you, which is very interesting. Personally, I really like the conditional second layer. The conditional second layer, yes, which was, accordingly, ring trousers, yes, and as a vest, yes, they're with long sleeves, with a high neck. Why I really liked it, because I will remind you that neither VKPO 3.0 nor VKPO 3.1 customer wanted to see the initial underwear, directly underwear, that is, the base layer. Well, the first level.
I will correct a few things here. We did not act as a supplier of this layer, this element, but it was supplied. But I understand other suppliers.
Yes, and what I liked about the second layer is that the second layer here, compared to traditional second layers, as we are used to seeing in the same ICVACs, in the same PKU, was thinner. And this underwear could act in the cold season really as the first layer. That is, it was very comfortable, it was sufficient, it provided good thermal insulation and at the same time dried very quickly. It dried very quickly, much faster than traditional two-piece suits, because with traditional two-piece suits if they get wet, it's quite, heavy in them. In short, you feel yourself.
Well, this was ensured by also directly, ergonomic cut, and by the higher content of elastin, that is, it was more comfortable compared to them. Now, if we talk, yes, about the changes that were in fleece jackets, then Jacket 3.2 is the successor of Jacket 3.1. There was an evolutionary path 3.0. It was quite technologically complex. That is, if we count the number of materials here, we used double-sided fleece, additional pocket fabric, we use lycra on the sleeves, then we use mesh fabric on the pockets.
And also, additional inner fabric.
Here's additional inner fabric. Microfleece is used. So, to ensure technological effectiveness, we went into simplification here. That is, we use double-sided fleece. Here we use waffle in the armpit area. Yes, the second layer. And it is also used in the collar. Plus pocket fabric. Well, naturally, burlap fabric there.
That is, we removed lycra here. We removed lycra and removed one-sided fleece in VKPO 3.2. So, taking into account that feedback, we made the fleece denser, warmer directly. That is, we improved its technical properties. Packability is quite good. It is quite not so directly knocked down, dense. This is ensured by the length of the pile, and not by the roamage. Classic fleece jacket, which has additional zones of irritation of the material in the zones, which are raised there under the compartment, roughly speaking, conditionally.
Exactly so.
Okay, second layer. The second layer has become significant. Here, that is, it has become much warmer. At the same time, the elasticity is the same as on this one. Well, I would say here it is as if the waffle has become smaller, right? But no in size. Or does it seem to me? Well, yes, they
have changed a little, yes. There are fewer waffles and the gaps have directly decreased.
Here, a denser article is used. Here, at the same time, identical, yes, absolutely identical. Here, as I understand it, do I understand correctly that this is the so-called second layer for the Arctic?
Right? This is the subversion directly. That is, we announced earlier that we have additional elements of insulated layers, additional elements there like VVZ in a different color. Also, underwear in Arctic conditions is made of one-sided fleece with a high degree of elasticity. That's comfortable. Yes. Here. Yes. And it is used instead of regular fleece underwear.
Well, listen, I have an Arc'teryx jacket, you know, with a hood, so fashionable among them. It is just as, even this, probably, more elastic. It is so cool. It seems small. You put it on yourself. It fits so tightly, comfortably. Well, I would say that it is probably directly comparable. Yes, the material.
We were guided by the best examples. Here's something else I wanted to say separately after the following. Among other things, that is, we propose to consider including in the set of underwear made of a material that has the property of fire-resistant properties. Here's a material that is very similar in structure, in organoleptic properties to cotton, but it is made of monocryl and tensile fleece. At the same time, it is fire-resistant, does not support combustion for 15 seconds. Yeah, here, but for now, as if in this direction of work, the work is still being carried out stressfully VKPO 3.2 in terms of underwear. Here's the fleece jacket better in that it has become much warmer directly. Here's the insulated suit. It has become more compact and lighter while warmer. Here, yes, maintaining the same water resistance, it has become more compact.
More compact, yes, more convenient. Here too, it has become more universal in terms of application, taking into account the benefits of operation, combining the best components of all four.
Based on the results of using 3.0 and 3.1. Excellent.
Friends, we have changed the location so that you can better perceive the information, so that your eyes do not become blurred. Next in line for us is, well, I would say that, well, not the basis. Well, if we are talking, yes, about the life of a serviceman, yes. When we talk about and about clothes, yes. This is in many ways, well, the health of servicemen. When we talk about the armor protection system, this is the life of servicemen. In fact, yes, here are two elements. I have already said a lot about the helmet. There is nothing to add here yet. The main, let me remind you, features of the helmet are its weight of 1350, yes, with a protection class of BR2. This is currently, well, a very good result, especially if it is consistently confirmed by the relevant tests and a certificate. Well, friends, a helmet, everything is clear with the helmet, everything is cool. So, the question is the main question here. So, do I understand correctly that this system that you are showing us now, this will be the main, in short, vest of the armed forces? It is assumed that not special forces, nor any other kind of this system will be the main vest of the armed forces of the Russian Federation?
This is a question that will be regulated by the customer. This is a product that is being considered by him within the framework of this promising kit. It is based on the Mrs. 2.0 kit, which was made taking into account the operation of the first generation of the system and KBS Strelok directly. That is, the original kit was largely intended for special forces units. That's it, and the mass operation of KBS Strelok gave invaluable experience, so to speak, that feedback based on the results of wider and mass use. The vest is modular, it is multifunctional. It contains a number of solutions that provide its greater utility, so to speak, in use compared to the products that exist now. That is why we are now in the conditions of the SVO. The most popular assembly is our bulletproof vest with a neck protection module, with a groin protection module there, sleep, yes, and with protection directly on the chest back with an armor panel. Here BR4 from TechCom is used, BR4+. Here, this format of application is now, it is not the only one. In one way or another, tasks continue to be performed in mountainous terrain. Tasks continue to be performed in hotter climates with other thermoregulation requirements. And due to its design, the vest allows you to adapt it directly to the necessary conditions.
Well, to everything listed, let's say.
Yes, including, in fact, one of such somewhat non-standard conditions of use now, when low-profile vests are needed, for example, used under clothing, civilian clothing, in order to protect yourself from objective surveillance equipment, drones, and so on, in order to ensure greater survivability, including when used together with civilian clothing. Now, if we are talking specifically about this vest, what are the main, so to speak, differences? And first, we took into account the experience of operating the KBS shooters. We directly ensured the same high protective characteristics of the armor element, but at the same time, a different article is used. The design has been improved. The vest itself is lighter. That is, it is lighter directly. Here, the ergonomics of the modules have been adjusted. That is, the neck protection module has become lower, but at the same time it provides a sufficient degree of protection. Based on the results of the test, this element was directly improved in order to ensure better compatibility with the helmet directly. Although, as a rule, it always raises questions, like complaints. Here we tried to take this into account as much as possible, as much as it was.
What are we talking about, friends? About the fact that when we change the position there, and the body, they're the prone position, when we there somewhere up there need to aim or something, accordingly, the back of the helmet conflicted. Well, and often conflicts with the protective, well, with the neck protection module. And at the moment, all manufacturers are trying to find the optimal configuration. And here, in fact, fact, this is exactly what Arseny is talking about. The
fittings in the area of the shoulder straps have been changed. That is, here we have low-profile Cobra buckles, which provide sufficiently high strength directly during use, during operation, and at the same time have a low profile, even less than plastic fittings. This is a special article that we made for ourselves. Then further directly we have,
quick release elements of the cummerbund.
Yes, with a modified design in order to provide more convenient donning and doffing. Previously, there was a more developed system directly here.
Well, and the overlap of these ballistic packages.
Yes, directly, yes, under the front section. Then,
you said BR1, you said BR4, and the ballistic packages are BR1. Ballistic packages are BR1. But at the same time they are presented to them as if within the framework of the customer's performance. Yes, they are S2 shooters. One of the main questions was, why are these bags rigid? Well, that is, yes, massive, rigid, and so on. They provided a higher degree of anti-splinter protection. Here is 630 meters per second. We conducted internal tests, compared them for the effect of M67 grenades. Here are grenades from a 60mm mortar of 100.
Yes, directly, yes, and there is a fairly close distance of up to 5 meters. That is, like a grenade there, like from 1 to 3, here directly a mine up to 5. Here, and this showed that a bulletproof vest with 630 resistance behaves much better than 550. About 70% was the better result. The side unit was modified in order to provide better compatibility with low growth. Compared to the first generation, we have telescopic stops. Well, that is, in principle, this is not new. We changed the configuration of the belt. Our belt is unified with the backpack belt.
More on that later.
Here, and accordingly, these elements for the slot support system of the guide do not scroll here. There are extended dampers inside in order to provide a sufficiently high degree of comfort.
Well, I want to say one more thing, friends, that the dampers are removable, am I right? The
dampers are removable, yes.
Removable. I would also like to note once again the extremely convenient system of adjusting the belt to size. This is my respect, in short. Why? Because when we use the weight distribution system, it is very important for us, very correctly, very accurately to adjust the belt to size and put it in place. When we use this traditional adjustment system, when there is Velcro, we put our hands there, wash the Velcro. All this is very annoying. This system is simple and very elegant. When we can select the required size as accurately as possible, then tuck the ends inside. Roughly speaking, that's it. Nothing bothers anyone. Yes, either or, yes, fold it and that's it. Nothing bothers anyone. The train has also been improved. Its dimensions have been increased compared to the FBS belt itself. That is, there are more mole slots here. Well, that is, everything that was pointed out, everything was taken into account, let's say.
Yes, we tried to take all of this into account. The
most important thing, stop. The most important thing, I forgot. The most important thing is, what is this? This is all mole minus. What is it? Tell me, mole.
Minus provides us with a reduction in the number of layers directly during the manufacture of products to reduce weight. An obvious example is our back section. That is, we have a cover fabric, that is, behind which is the armor panel itself. Here's the lower element that holds it. It also acts as our outer cover. That is, it acts as both a protective cover and, at the same time, a low-profile fastening element. This provides us with a lower profile. This provides us with a higher degree of directly technological effectiveness in mass production. Is it
possible to remove this bastic element or not? Yes, you can just remove it and use it only, if anything, as a low-profile belt. Let's not just say this.
I can say the following about the belt. That is, our belt can be used as a base, as shown here. The base is an armor element of the pillow. You can remove the pillows, use only the base, the package itself. You can use the base plus the pillows.
But is it possible to just use the base? You can just use the low-profile base, but this will cause some discomfort. That is, only, yes, leave the lumbar part. Why is it rigid? Because it bears the load of both the backpack itself and the load of the vest itself. At the same time, the front part here is made as narrow as possible so as not to press here, yes, this part. This was modified based on the results of direct use. At the same time, even the lumbar part can be removed. It can be used without it. It can only be located purely on the backpack. If, for example, the Adept uses a backpack without a belt, parts directly related to the vest. That is, here we have presented its standard assembly. That is, the vest has a fairly high degree of multifunctionality. There we have moved away from the classic application of the corset system. A corset, as we all know, if it contains a protective insert, it allows for a larger area of back protection. Here this is compensated in another way due to the extended elements of neck protection. Well, I will say that here the cummerbund itself is quite wide, wider than usual, I think. Yes. At the same time, it is enlarged to a greater extent in the upper part, rather than in the lower part, in order to maintain the degree of mobility that is necessary. Now, roughly speaking, we will demonstrate the possibility of adapting the kit there. Here, accordingly, we have removable neck protection. If necessary, groin protection is also quite easy to remove. It is attached to our NACRA, made of 2 parts. At the same time, if necessary, the kit is unified with the usual 2.0. If the customer provides an extended version of shoulder protection, forearm protection directly with other protection modules, Then in the lateral segment, in the abdominal and groin, even armor panels for BR5 protection can be placed, if someone needs it.
Yeah, so, accordingly, we have now assembled such a lighter version of the vest, here, which provides protection for the frontal back projection and side projections. Here's our side protection, or rather these guides, they are attached from the outside. Yeah. So, and now further, that is, we will demonstrate the possibility of assembling it into a lighter version. Here, an interesting solution is used. We directly extract the side protection from the back, and it is quite easily dismantled not on the classic moth interface, as it was before, but due to this polymer guide. I provide the ability to quickly adapt the kit to the specifics of actions. Here.
Corresponds accordingly. Chick. Yes.
Yes, that is, we have such a lightweight vest. Here, in conditions when there is not such a probability of being hit by a fragment. Here, a minimum set of protection is necessary and fairly high requirements to ensure thermoregulation. Here, it can be used with side protection without these additional fittings, purely closing with Velcro. Here, that is, a high degree of repairability is ensured. That is, if suddenly the plastic fittings fail, you can also close them with a classic regular Velcro. Here, and due to this, a low profile is ensured. That is, the vest can be used as, so to speak, a vest, so to speak, a concealed one, so to speak, concealed without a mouthguard. Got it. Here, then, it is also possible to adapt the vest for use as a bib and light unloading. To do this, we remove the side valve, remove the front section. Here we separate the mouth guards. Here, further, accordingly, we extract this module. We will do the same on the opposite side. And then we separate the straps themselves.
Here's the detached back. Now, if necessary, we can either remove the armor panel, or remove the bag and fold the front part. Here. And we get a lightweight armored chest plate. Yes, we get a chest plate with protection. Here, you don't need to fasten it like that, it turns out. Here, it is simply fastened with these
side fasteners. Yep,
we get a chest plate, the straps of which provide comfort when carried with a backpack due to their low profile. At the same time, based on the results of the tests, we have slightly improved them. That is, an additional damper has been added here. They have become a little softer directly. At the same time, it has a sufficient degree of rigidity with a low profile so that it can be worn with backpacks without causing discomfort. That is, it would seem that such a variable system looks quite, perhaps, even a prerequisite for complex operation directly. But, as our experience has shown, let's say, feedback when interacting with users, both with conscripts and directly with contract soldiers, we have seen that in general the user is ready to operate such systems. And in many ways this depends on the level of training of the sergeant staff, the
leader who will manage everything for you. I mean the training of the military personnel. And the concept itself turned out to be in demand in the following way, that we are not talking about the fact that a serviceman for each specific there like here will constantly change the composition of the kit. We are talking about the following. That there is the most common scenario of use in the form of a general-purpose vest with neck protection, groin protection, and a weight distribution system. At the same time, if servicemen find themselves in mountainous fox terrain performing tasks related directly to developmental and mining activities, then they can adapt it to a lighter kit or even a chest plate. And also, if he finds himself in other conditions, for example, there, in Africa, he can also adapt it to other requirements of thermoregulation, using only unloading at all or, again, a minimal stove. Yes.
Everything is clear. Let's move on to the backpack. Friends. Well, actually, I will say such a small preamble, yes, and then you will add. Troopa 99 was, well, probably the most, yes, it was not. No, probably, it was. I, for one, claim, this is my channel. I claim on my channel that it was they who made the coolest military backpacks in Russia. This concerned primarily the T-20 model, then the T-40, T-60 with the T-10 frame. Then, accordingly, the nomenclature was expanded. In my opinion, there was either still Group 99 or already the detachment when the T-30 appeared.
Group 99
was also Group 99 T-30, a magnificent backpack. A magnificent backpack, yes. Accordingly, the T-30 backpack, and then subsequently entered the
KB Strelok system.
In the KB Strelok, it entered there, a little expanded with a spider under the helmet there to accommodate, well, a military version, let's say, yes, of the T-30 backpack. And today we see, as I understand it, the pinnacle of evolution of world backpack construction, yes, in the form of a backpack, which is included in the Novator kit. It has its own name. I see a frame that has proven itself well with minor changes. That is, more accurately, with changes, oh, definitely minor. You'll curse me, with changes, yes. And I see the main transport bag. That's right, dot. And I also see on it, well, an assault backpack as a valve of the main transport bag, right? Yes, everything is exactly like that. And the most important thing is that I also see in it, I'm getting ahead of myself, I watched the video in your profile. And what did you fully integrate the backpack with the belt when we wear a bulletproof vest? No, because these two systems are combined into it. Well, we offered a solution, let's say, a version of the solution.
Yes, so it means that we have been producing backpacks for quite a long time, since 2012. Our backpacks based on the first generation T10 cargo frame with bags. They were supplied to the Special Forces unit in fairly large quantities, and when new tasks arose, new challenges, specifics, we offered the T30 backpack, one of our most popular for inclusion in the shooter's equipment kit. Here directly, a
very good backpack, a very good backpack, and T40, T60, excuse me, please, and 14T060, T60 many people knew, I know, who used them in a variety of conditions. Only extremely positive reviews of these backpacks. Not just positive, but extremely positive. And approaching the development of a new product, which we also have here, there are already two versions. There is a commercial one presented in the catalog, directly a new line of backpacks, and there is its specialized Gozovsky version for a special customer as part of the Novator kit. And servicemen of special units have the opportunity to receive several products according to their standard of provision. Here at the same time, backpacks are available in.
Yes, backpacks. That is, like a load.
Look again carefully. That is, this backpack is not intended for special forces units. This backpack is basically intended for an ordinary soldier, let's say.
For mass.
For mass use, yes. This is not some kind of special standard, in theory. In theory, yes. That is preliminary. That is, the backpack is considered as a mass backpack. And this is what Arseny is talking about. Arseny says that special forces fighters are accustomed to the fact that they have a backpack for each task. All raids there in mountainous fox terrain, there is one model, some kind of medium patrol there, yes, or some kind of assault. Third, a fighter of general experience is always based on some kind of base. It is always based on some kind of strong rear, more or less supply. Logistics for fighters of general units are often deprived of this. That is, they need one thing for all occasions. That's
right, and often even servicemen of special forces are forced to use some one solution due to problems related to the rear with logistics. That's why the task here was like this. That is, regardless, servicemen can still face tasks, autonomous tasks from 1 to 5 days. At the same time, there is a high probability of transporting non-standard cargo, that is, heavy weapons, drones and something else. That's why for the
base of water, food, ammunition. That's
right. That's why the task here was to provide a multifunctional solution in one set, which would take up one place in luggage with the ability to unload non-standard cargo. And here we have one of, let's say, these proposed designs. What do we see? We see a complex consisting of 3 main products. This is a valve that can be used as a patrol backpack. We have a raid bag directly, and there is a frame with a belt. Now if we are talking directly about the upper backpack itself, that is, it is quite easy to detach, is attached with faxes, can be unfastened, and it has straps that fold into pockets. Yeah.
Well, it reminds me of the T30, or does it seem to me? And
it is the successor of the T30.
In its solutions, how does the commercial version presented in the line differ from the one we see here? Here a lot was aimed at reducing weight. That is why the solution with increasing the volume, it is made not due to the zipper, which, that is, was kind of presented there, but due to just one piece volume and adjustment with the help of side straps. That's it. Well cemented itself, already known for a long time used solution, right? Its volume is as backpack T30, that is, not less than 30 liters. Here's variable access to the contents due to directly their zipper, located along the perimeter, access from the top of the backpack. Here it can be laid out on the side here for access directly to the side surface. Well, AS3 deeply we will not. Go deep there is Velcro for fastening containers. Here, then, for the possibility of adapting the kit to your specific task. In the back it can be reinforced with a polymer insert, which is located directly inside the main bag, when used as a valve, to provide flexibility and mobility. And when used independently, an insert is installed inside for greater rigidity. Based on the results of the tests, the kit was slightly modified. That is, the straps they became sewn in. Before they were removable unfasteners, there was variability, made more ergonomic, more comfortable. Simplified somewhat designed for more widespread use of application. On the outer surface, this element, the beaver tail, can also be used. That is, it can be removed from here and installed there. Here are the elements. That is, roughly speaking, that is, in fact, this element, the military-grade beaver tail T30, you moved it, we can use it here and there. It can be used as an independent pocket, and it has access, it can, accordingly, put some elements there. So, everything is clear with this. Our bag is a raid bag. Is it unique or is it T40, T60? This is T620 in the commercial version. We use the solution from the T30 backpack. Also, the zipper runs along the perimeter of the backpack, providing variable access. Yes, also from above. Also, if necessary, turning it on its side, opening the zipper here. Unlike standard backpacks of the Triad of Group 99, which usually have minimal external organization, it has additional pockets located on the sides. And behind it, here, friends, pay attention, please nail it. Look, here the pocket is quite deep. And most importantly, look, it has a volume layer. Because many manufacturers often make these pockets, which I put steal the volume of the main compartment. Yes, they thought it was absolutely ineffective, and absolutely stupid solution for long-term actions. Here directly its dimensions are calculated in such a way that it can be placed normally. That is, there is food, ammunition, bivouac elements, that is, the burner itself. Yes, that's where it is mainly, and pay attention. Here we get a pocket, and behind the pocket there is also a rubberized neck of quite a large size. I think that even the 26 will fit here. Yes, that's right. Moreover, it is adjustable. That is, you can relax it as much as possible. That is, like enough to press down with these elements. Or, if necessary, press down like this. If we use it for a flask, for example, a bottle or a flask, well, the neck will fit right in here, I think.
Yes.
This is just a super solution, in short. I mean, look, pay attention. I mean, it's a pretty wide backpack. You know what I want to say? It's light, holy. It's really light. Well, it turns out that the mass of the entire set that's presented here, oh, it's up to 5 kilograms full. Well, here it is, because what's the problem with military backpacks? We all know that there are our comrades from the Central Security Service, yes, they all said, we don't give a damn, we'll walk around with honor, because it weighs like this, it weighs nothing, and it has a large volume. But at the same time, its system allows you to carry heavy loads, right? It won't look at anything at all. He threw it somewhere 3 times, threw it and, in short, from it the horns to the leg. And here it's appropriate, that is, I understand, here is Cordura, right? Here is Cardura 505, 100th Cordura. The frame provides for the transportation of cargo weighing up to 50 kilograms, and even more if necessary. Each of these composite guides, which are presented here, provides, they were reinforced based on the results of tests and operation. Here, and right now, this latest generation provides, each of them can withstand a load of 110 kilogram. Just this one can withstand 110 kilogram. Here, aha. Well, friends, yes, let me show off my smarts now. Can I show off my smarts? I want to show off my smarts, just to show that I am smart too. This is not the first time in my life I have seen this rat. In fact, friends, some may not believe it, but because of my previous experience of communicating, respectively, with products, I saw this. Yes. It turns out that we thread this through here, right? This is it, yes. And we take the cover out of there, up.
From the cover, yes, from the coupling. Next, we unfasten the lower part of the fastex.
Well, it didn't turn out quite right, of course. We thread them there, right? They go there completely, right? And specifically so that we could fix the mats there further, right?
And then, accordingly, we turn it over and take it out. First, that is, we remove the belt. What you were talking about, A
question right away. A question right away. Look, we have a body armor unloading train, and there's a backpack waistband, which is unified with it. Complex Novator implies both that belt and this one. And for now, the customer is considering the presence of a belt in both the backpack and the belt in the body armor. It's just ballistics here without ballistics. This is an important question, because suddenly someone will be and we thread this here, right? Yes. At the same time, we thread this here, take it out. So, the bag with yes, it's also incredibly light, yes, in general, in short, yes, and the frame, all say the same. And so, friends, we got a frame like this, yes. So, here I'm on such a frame, well, for example, on the same frame. It immediately has a cargo platform. The platform goes right away. And here on the cargo platform a beaver tail can also be placed. That is, like additionally, yes, like if we need to carry something, at the same time some additional helmet, mask net, and so on. And so we have a platform for placing non-standard cargo. Well, and accordingly, it is adjusted depending on what length of the platform we need, right? Yes. And plus you can also fix it with the sides. If the cargo is additionally attached to it, that is, how it works, that is, here we straighten it compared to the previous generation. A much simplified user interface. Here we just fasten it like this with the help of these tapes. Here, and then we connect it back with all these fasteners. That is, and we can carry the cargo between the backpack and the frame. That is, roughly speaking, we can carry a radio station here, a box with ammunition or something else. That's right.
More, exactly. It's
just a nightmare.
Yes, more play is created, but it is regulated directly by the attraction of the side elements.
Friends, in fact, a detailed review of this system, yes, and other elements, in my opinion, is in your Telegram channel. I will definitely provide a link to the Telegram channel. It is simply analyzed there as a manual, but it is analyzed there. How to explain it? Well, in fact, as an instruction, right? A
brief scenario of use. That's
right? That is, we did not take with us the goal of making a detailed review of each element, because we reviewed, well, everything that exists in nature. But I will say that the backpack is simply because, to be honest, the vest helmet is the bomb. Well, everything is clear about the clothes, sleeping bags, clothes here the question is closed. So, the helmet is the bomb. In general, I put the helmet on my head. Well, you can't convey that on camera. Well, it's clear that it fits well, everything. How conveniently it adjusts. How well it fits. How much this, system turns out to be better than the usual pillows. Yes, and so on. Yes, even the Obskurov system seems to me to be even more convenient than the Ascort. That's it. But the backpack is simply unthinkable, which, I repeat, seemed to me quite, a vest. A vest after all. Take into account how many of these piglets, a piglet can turn into a crucian carp. I want to go to the mountains. I want or don't want a cake. I want ice cream. Quite complicated. Well, quite complicated. Yes, you have to delve into it. The bomb backpack is so understandable. Everything is just intuitive. Click, 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 click. Just my respects. In short, people didn't believe in KPO 3.0. If you had shown something like this 20 years ago, they would have burned you at the stake. They would have simply burned you at the stake. The devil, so to speak, is a witch, a witch. That was 20 years ago. And today, friends, well, even today I want to say, even today, given that I'm familiar with the equipment elements, from leading manufacturers, including clothing, I will say this. In terms of clothing, if we do not take non-flammable, it is not inferior in anything at all. In short, here's an innovator, specifically an innovator VKPO 1, VKPO 3.0, VKPO 3.1 were good. And an innovator is just some kind of space. Plus I have this special forces normal mask there, special standard, right? And the manufacturer is not inferior to the best in anything. Only here we take non-flammable. Well, non-flammable is, of course, how is it? And
This is research work and a different budget.
different budget. Yes, these are materials. Everything rests. This is not a design. It all rests on materials. Next, then, regarding the backpack element. Well, I think that, I have never seen anything cooler from backpacks. There were Philby, Ilby, and Berlistorky, and whatever else there is of this kind of military. I don't shoot anything. Nothing. I don't see anything like that in the NER. Well, to be honest, especially, I had a chief. I had 6,500 in 2011. Well, I thought, to be honest, for the money that I bought in 2011, I thought now he would come. I would put him with me. I would say, tomorrow we're going to the mountains. He would say, yes. And he would run ahead of me. It turns out that he doesn't run ahead of me. And when you put it on a bulletproof vest there, yes, it's nothing or there. When you have shoulders, it means the systems get under the shoulders, unloading, everything gets knocked down like that. Everywhere it's all the same, any backpack. I didn't notice anything special about it. Well, regarding this backpack, it is the pinnacle of, how can I say, backpack construction? Yes. But I have a question. Here's an extreme question. I will summarize completely. As far as I remember, Group 99 always approached the modeling of the backpack design in that it should not protrude much beyond the dimensions of the human body. Why? Because a person does not feel that it protrudes beyond the dimensions. Well, that is, roughly speaking, when he walks, he sees a branch, he lifts it up as far as he needs to bend under the branch because he feels his head. Everything that protrudes beyond the dimensions, accordingly, it interferes. Naturally, here, when we hang here, one on top of another, on the valve and so on, and so on and so forth, it protrudes. But as I understand it, when it is in this form, it is a transportation system. That is, it is unlikely that a person will even carry everything along with him to complete a task. After all,
This is an additional volume that we have, increasing the backpack directly in width. It is made in such a way that if you look at it from above, it is a trapezoid. That is, if we pass some shelters, obstacles, that is, let's say, it is the size that a person imagines, he takes into account and allows him to quite correctly, comfortably pass the obstacle in front of him. Here, in the part concerning the additional load located on top, its volume is regulated by the user directly. That is, in general, of course, we do not recommend completely filling it to a 30-liter state, using it directly from above. Here, so that the mass, or rather the profile is lower. In a situation when it is used fully loaded, it is still directly for transportation. As you said, we are from point A to point B. We are not on a mission. Let me sum it up.
there's such a good expression. We are on the verge of a grand mess. So, yes, friends, we are on the verge. I hope, or rather, as I will say, this is my channel, this is my opinion. It is clear that Arseny is a company representative here. His opinion on this issue may not coincide with my opinion, the opinion of a blogger. And I will say this, we are on the verge of adopting a possible, potential adoption of a relaxation of the Russian armed forces equipment set. An equipment set from one manufacturer. This is also important. That is, it turns out that you are doing, how quickly you consolidated an entire system, which includes clothing, a sleeping bag, a backpack, and a sib. One manufacturer is on the verge of adopting the most advanced set of equipment ammunition in the entire history of the existence of course, the Russian armed forces. Well, I think, here I am. We argued about this there behind the scenes. And I will say that if we take a system of mass, namely mass A, used for equipping combined arms units, I would say that, probably, this system is the most perfect in the world, especially in SIB. That is, it is clear that someone can argue about the clothes, someone else can argue about how much. Another important point, friends, and now there will definitely be an imbecile, I can't call him anything else, who will say that all this is. The main thing, then, is to rewind the foot wraps, slap on the gloves, sit down at the machine gun and go, in short, cut and stab. And he will be right to some extent. But friends, equipment, not even taking into account, as I already said, the SIB, not taking into account the helmet, but taking into account purely equipment, this is the fighter's health. So, you will answer the question for yourself. is your health important to you or not? So, high quality, well thought out modern equipment is the fighter's health, and, accordingly, the SIP, I repeat, is the fighter's life. Thank you very much. I sincerely hope that it is difficult with a star, as it should be. It will reach the end, not to the customer, but will reach the end user on the battlefield, and he will say a huge thank you to you and do the right thing.
Speaking about us, I will add that it is very important that this is the result of the team's work. And here I would like to say a huge thank you to those people who participated in the creation of these products, the developers, those people who taught the developers, directly the designers, technologists, people who participated in the operational activities of the enterprise, providing its logistics, finances, here are the economic activities and administrative, directly organizational.
Thank you for your attention. It turned out to be a long video. On the one hand, we tried to be as much as possible like a Golub on Europe. On the other hand, we still tried. I think we managed to tell you about the most important decisions that were laid down in Novato, and to show you that the word innovator was used for a reason. This is really a new word in the family of equipment for military personnel. And I will repeat for the 10th time, I hope this equipment will reach new meetings. Health, good luck, may the force be with you. Bye.